Hello, fight fans. Welcome to my channel. This is a channel where I will try and break down a number of UFC, and not only UFC, also Bellator events. More specifically, I will try and break down the main cards. And I'm going to start with UFC Fight Night Brunson against Shahbazyan, taking place this Saturday, 8th of August in Las Vegas, Nevada. Uh, the first fight I'm going to have a look at is the first fight on the main card, which is Kevin Holland against Trevin Giles. So let's have a closer look at this fight. Let's start with Kevin Holland. So he has a pretty decent record, 17 and 5. He already had quite some fights on the UFC, which is nice. He already got this UFC experience. First thing that's nice about Kevin Holland is that he's very big for the middleweight division. This is a middleweight bout. He's very big, very lanky, and also something which is an advantage, maybe a disadvantage at one point as well, is that he's very explosive. Um, so Kevin Holland, quite young, 27 years of age. He has he's for sure improving from fight to fight, and actually he has a lot of things to improve on as well. We already touched upon the fact he's big, he's explosive, he's young, yes. However, what he does display quite often is rather poor fight IQ. So if we look at his fight, so this one against Gerald Merchant, um, well, he was going to the ground, yeah, more often than he should have. He also displayed not the best takedown defense, despite his physical attributes. Despite how big he is, how explosive he is, he did suffer quite some against Gerald. He also did suffer against Brendan Allen. Well, the first round was rather close. I gave the edge to Brendan Allen, and then in the second round, well, he got yeah, he got submitted. So he also displayed not the best takedown defense, and also his ground game is, yeah, he needs a bit of work. He won the Gerald Merchant fight, well, although very close. His other fights, he did have a very nice win against Anthony Hernandez, a very fast win, where again he displayed how explosive he is. What I would say his striking is, well, the better part of his game, uh, and also of course it fits well into his attributes, being lanky. However, more often than not, he chooses to go to the ground with his opponents, and this costs him the fight. His opponent, let's have a look at his opponent, Trevin Giles. So Trevin the Problem Giles, also 27 years of age. So both of these fighters are going to be improving from fight to fight. However, Trevin Giles, something well known about him, he is actually a full-time policeman. Uh, he's a full-time policeman, and he still somehow manages to be in the UFC and actually, yeah, keep up with the rest of the guys over there. Um, he now wants to break into the top 20, top 25 of the middleweight division. He's looking forward to that, and I'm sure he's training hard. However, yeah, combining UFC and a police career uh, is a bit of a problem, as his nickname says. Okay, Trevin Giles. About him, he also has nice striking, similar to Kevin Holland. However, I would say he's not that big for the division. Standing at 6 foot even, he's way smaller than Kevin Holland. I would say his striking actually is maybe a bit crisper. um, especially at range, kickboxing range. Whereas Kevin Holland has, I think, a clear advantage in the clinch with his elbows, knees, and his very big frame. I would say Giles maybe has slight advantage in kickboxing range, just by being faster and a little bit more crisp of a striker. On the ground, though, yeah, that's when it becomes a bit tricky. He also had a fight with Jerome Marchard, a very close fight where eventually he lost in the third round via guillotine choke. Uh, and he also, similarly to Kevin Holland, displays rather poor fight IQ. So he did, yeah, he did well against James Krause, but again, a very close fight where some people thought that Krause won. Against Zach Cummings again, he lost via submission. In general, he tends to go to the ground again more often than not, and that this really yeah that he struggles on the ground. Do I think he will struggle against Kevin Holland? I actually think he will. Kevin Holland, despite having close fights on the ground as well, similar to Trevin Giles, is a black belt, and in general, I would say he would have a slight advantage just because of his yeah bigger, stronger frame. Uh, I also think Trevin Giles will most likely gas out a bit faster. So when it comes to my pick, well, I do pick Kevin Holland to win. I do pick Kevin Holland to win. However, I, I I would not bet him because despite the fact that he has clear advantage over Trevin Giles in almost every well facet of the game. I would say he has slightly better wrestling, slightly better jiu-jitsu, also slightly better striking overall, uh, and of course he has a better clinch game. I think yeah, all of those advantages are quite marginal. So yeah, it's very likely that Trevin Giles might win a very close decision against Kevin Holland. So the pick is Kevin Holland to win. The pick is Kevin Holland to win. However, I would not bet him. But let's have a look at the odds actually. See, yeah. So yeah, as of now, Kevin Holland, well, say an average of minus 210. Trevin Giles plus 190. Yeah, these odds, they, well, the bookies have it a very close fight. I would say it is a close fight, and I would say yes, the advantages are on Kevin Holland's side, but uh, it's not a very smart bet. So I would not bet this fight. Okay, next fight of the night is Bobby Green against Lando Vanata. So, look. Okay, so a very interesting fight. A fight, actually a rematch. Both of these guys squared up together. They have squared up together before, and the fight ended up as a draw. What's interesting about the previous fight was that Lando Vanata was clearly winning the first round. He was actually pretty close to finishing Bobby Green. However, he did land an illegal strike, although there was a bit of controversy there because he did not land with the knee, he landed with the thigh. However, he was subtracted a point, which, really uh, yeah, really changed the outcome of the fight, in my opinion. if he weren't to be subtracted a point, he would have won. However, he was subtracted a point, and uh, it's a completely different argument whether it was fair or not. So this happened in the first round, and they had a rather close second round, and in the third round, actually, Bobby Green came out and I would say won that third round. So that's all about the first fight. But let's have a closer look at Bobby Green. So he's 33 years of age, quite experienced. He has been in the UFC for quite some time. Fought some very nice names. You could see here Dustin Poirier, although he lost to him by TKO. He also fought Edson Barboza, Josh Thompson, so like really Pat Healy, James Krause, like the list goes on and on. He fought quite some names. He has been in the game for quite some time. However, in his recent bouts, he is struggling a bit. So here we see the first fight with Lando Vanata, which ended up as a draw. Then he had a nice win against Eric Koch. But after then, those two losses. Yeah, what I would say against about Bobby Green is that he's a pretty solid boxer. For sure, I would say he's a better pure boxer than Lando Venata. He's also much more experienced than Lando Venata. Uh, However, he does struggle against good kickboxers. We see here against Drakkar Close and Francisco Trinaldo. He did win against Clay Guida, but Clay Guida is more of a wrestler with a bit of striking, but in general, Clay Guida is not really famous for his striking. And despite that, he still did, yeah, pretty well against Bobby Green on the field. So I would say that actually Bobby Green is on a bit of a decline, but not a rapid one. So yeah, very good boxer, quite I would say a nice cardio, or at least good pacing, maybe because of his experience. Um, Also, yeah, does possess some wrestling, but rarely uses it. And then let's have a look at his opponent, Lando Venata. So Lando Venata, he's quite young, 28 years of age, younger than Bobby Green. When it comes to physical attributes, both men, yeah, stand about the same. But yeah, Lando had a very interesting career so far. So he came into the UFC and he had a fight with Tony Ferguson, which played out very interestingly because he was able to drop down Tony Ferguson with a left high kick, if I'm not mistaken, which was pretty spectacular for a first UFC fight. And everyone was high on Lando Vanata. Then he had this fight against John McDessie. And John McDessie at the time was, he was a name in the UFC, not top five camp fighter, but still he was a name. Lando Vanata completely destroyed him. He knocked him out with a very nice spinning wheel kick. So everyone was like, man, Lando Vanata is the guy. This man is dangerous, violent. Everyone was high on him. But then he had, uh, yeah, a bunch of losses and close fights. You see David Tamer here, then this fight with Bobby Green, the draw, and Draco closed and Matt. In general, while the hype train was derailed, and right now everyone kind of knows where Lando Venata stands at. So Lando Venata, pretty decent kickboxer, very good at mixing it up, I would say. Very good at mixing it up. His strikes, his punches, his leg kicks, very good at mixing it up. I would say technically very crisp. However, he does lack certain attributes. So one problem with Lando Vanata is he did speak openly about struggling with depression, anxiety, and so on. So like mentally, his game is lacking just a bit. So we see all of those close fights. So in all of those fights, actually, not only the draws but the losses, he did have a chance to win them, but it seemed like a bit like he faded under the pressure. So what I would say, he's very good at being the hammer, but not so good at being the nail. He did do well in those fights, but he could have done much better. And I believe he didn't, just because, well, his opponents, all of them, were not afraid of him, uh, and the fights were rather close. So, what I would say, in close fights, he tends to struggle a bit. But yeah, when it comes to his matchup with Bobby Green, he's the younger fighter, so he's 5 years younger. So I would say, despite his struggles with well, depression in the past, he now says it's all over. And then I do believe he will have much more motivation and will be, yeah, more eager to win this fight. He's more well-rounded, as I said. His kickboxing overall is better. His leg kicks in particular. Also, he does have, I would say, a bit better wrestling. Although I really don't believe this fight will go to the ground. And one more thing, he's never been KO'd actually. Um, all of his losses are via decision. Oh, yeah, of course, against Tony Ferguson, he did lose via submission, but I don't think Bobby Green will be able to submit him anyway. So he's never been KO'd. So, I mean, I do believe he's a bit more, despite his lack of mental toughness, I would say physically he's in much better shape than Bobby Green. He's younger, he's hungrier, I think, and also physically he's never been KO'd, so I think his chin will hold up pretty well. Whereas Bobby Green, yeah, I don't think so. So my pick for this fight is Lando Vanata to win. But let's have a look at the odds. So we have Bobby Green plus, well, an average of plus 135, let's say, and Lando Vanata an average of minus 160. Yeah, let's say minus 160. Well, these odds I would really not urge you to bet. Uh, yeah, any of the fighters. I do believe Lando Vanata should be the favorite. Maybe the line is a bit, yeah, too wide, just because the first fight was close, really close, and Bobby Green seemed to be the fresher guy in the later rounds. Also, despite being dropped by Lando Vanata in the first round, he came back. So what I do think is he would carry that confidence of, okay, I took your best shots and I was still able to come back. So maybe the better bet, I would for sure not bet Lando Vanata these odds. Maybe a slight poke at Bobby Green is worth it. But yeah, my pick is Lando Vanata. When it comes to betting this fight, I would not, but maybe a small poke at Bobby Green. So let's continue to the next fight. Next fight I'm gonna discuss is Vicente Luque against Randy Brown. Very interesting fight here, and very important for the welterweight division. So we have Vicente Luque, the silent assassin. Let's have a close look at him. So Vicente Luque, So first and foremost, we have to start by saying Vicente Luque is, in my opinion, at least a top 15 fighter of the year. So, see him ranked top at 11. A very, very well-rounded fighter. He's really he was on a pretty decent win streak before Stephen Thompson. He was expected to break into that top three, actually. However, he did struggle against Stephen Thompson and he did lose. So Vicente Luque, primarily a striker with very, very good BJJ. Actually, rarely does he choose to wrestle, despite his very good BJJ. But a very, very good striker. We see here he has 4 consecutive wins by a KO against pretty good names: Chuck Lopez, Calvin Turner, Brian Barberena, David Prince. Some of those guys really tough to finish. Brian Barberena, very, very good chin. He did lose in the past against Leon Edwards, um, which, well, no shame in that. Leon Edwards is currently a top 5, even top 3 fighter, people believe. Also a pretty decent win against Nico Price here with a dash choke. However, this was quite some time ago, 2017. So let's have a closer look at his most recent fights. So his fight with Stephen Thompson, I think, says a lot because this was a fight where, well, it didn't really went to the ground. It was a pure striking bout, and we did see his style, really did not match up well with Stephen Thompson. So Vicente Luque, he really likes pressure. He's a very decent striker who likes pressure. However, Stephen Thompson was always the faster guy. He was always the one who was winning the exchanges. So it was really hard for Luque to land anything on Stephen Thompson. But like we all know, that's what Stephen Thompson does. Um, he did have this rematch with Nico Price. Again, a very nice fight actually. We saw that Nico Price has improved a lot, and the second fight was this one was much closer than their first bout. However, the fight was stopped due to eye injury on Nico Price's behalf. However, I do believe Vicente Luque was winning that fight pretty comfortably, despite Price being able to land some shots here and there. So, what about his bout against Randy Brown now? So, I do believe that Luque has almost all the advantages over Randy Brown. Um, he is, despite Randy Brown being quite lanky and big, I do believe Luque is the more physically imposing, going to be the more physically imposing guy in the cage. If he chooses to wrestle and use his BJJ, I believe he will dismantle Randy Brown. However, he rarely does. So I really don't have a reason to believe he will use it in this fight. This fight, I think, being a clear advantage. So I do believe this fight will play out standing up. And Vicente Luque is a pretty good striker with very nice pressure. So the fight is going to be close standing up. Because if we have a look at Randy Brown, very, very lanky for the division. Again, very big, quite slim actually. What's amazing, what's for me very strange, he's actually the older guy of the two. He's 30 years old. I don't know, to me it seems like he's like 22 or 3. However, he's 30 years old, and Luque being 28. Um, so Randy Brown, he did actually lost to Nico Price in a fight. In a pretty close fight. He was winning up until that point. Nico Price just destroyed him with some hammer fists from bottom position. But before that, Yeah, he lost against Bilal Muhammad. Bilal Muhammad, a nice guy with some good pressure and yeah, good takedowns. So he did lose. He got like a bit of he got exposed over there. He didn't win against Mickey Go. Yeah, which doesn't say that much at that point. 2017, Mickey Go was fighting CM Punks, and it was just, yeah, not a pretty spectacular win. But then he came up strong against Bram Barberena. Had a very nice fight against him. He won by a TKO. Then, even more spectacularly, he submitted Worley Alves. And we all know Worley Alves is a pretty decent fighter, and he submitted him. So this does say quite a lot. So now against Vicente Luque, I do believe Vicente Luque is a very big step up in competition when compared to Worley Alves and Brown Barberena. Um, none of none of Worley Alves nor Barberena is a particularly good striker. Barberena, yeah, he's not a bad striker. He has uh, he has had some nice fights in the UFC. However, not really a top, I would say even top 15 striker in the welterweight division. And Murli Alves, despite having some improvements in his striking game, also. Um, oh, Randy Brown, uh, when pressured, when pressured, he tends to struggle, and we of course, we saw this in the Bilal Muhammad fight where he lost, but also he did struggle a bit against Bramber Brenna in the first two rounds when he was pressured. Um, I do believe he does possess a chance of winning against Vicente Luque, because I do believe Vicente Luque will not choose to go to the ground with Randy Brown, and which I think he should. I do believe that's going to be a stand-up fight. However, being a stand-up fight, um, Randy Brown is most likely going to lose. Um, so, like, both of these fighters are very good strikers, but pretty good BJJ. So I think no one will try to take the other one to the ground. It will be a stand-up fight. I do believe Vicente Luque has a better wrestling, better BJJ, but the fighter will not go there. And when it comes to standing up, I also think Luque has the advantage in terms of pressure, just being the more experienced guy despite being younger. Mm, Randy Brown is probably the hungrier fighter, the one willing to go deeper to win that fight. However, Vicente Luque never really, we've never seen him fade. Even against Stephen Thompson, he was getting picked apart, but yeah, it didn't seem to bother him. And he has faced considerably better guys than Randy Brown. So my pick is Vicente Luque to win. Uh, Actually, pretty comfortably. I don't see a way for Randy Brown to win, except for a clear knockout, maybe in the clinch if he manages to get Luque in the clinch with something. Uh, but I think that's not very likely. So my pick is Vicente Luque to win this fight. So let's have a look at the odds. We have Randy Brown plus 180 and Vicente Luque minus 1. Yeah, I would say an average of minus 2, 5, minus 2, 10, minus 2, 5. Um, yeah, with Luca having the clear advantage in almost every area of the game, I would say the odds are pretty fair, pretty accurate. So I would not really bet. Let's continue with the next fight on the main card, which is going to be Joanne Calderwood against Jennifer Maia. So let's have a brief look at Joanne Calderwood first. Okay, she has a pretty nice record, 14-4 and 0, and she has quite some advantages over Jennifer Maia, which I'm going to discuss briefly right now. So, first of the gate, she will be the bigger fighter. She stands at 5'6", uh, and has 65.5 reach advantage, whereas Jennifer Maia only stands at 5'4" and has a 64-inch reach advantage. And I have to say, especially for women's MMA, the physical advantages really do play a role because in a lot of matchups we see that it is a lot like the fighters are very close technically, and the physical advantages really are determining who the winner is going to be. But let's discuss the technical aspects of the fight. What I would say about JoJo is that she's very well rounded. Mm, she has fought some pretty decent names lately. So she won actually against Andrea Lee, and well, some people thought it was well, she didn't won that fight. However, I do believe she did, despite having this split decision win. I thought she fairly won the fight. I thought it could have been an unanimous decision. Of course, there was a lot of hype behind Andrea Lee, and a lot of people wanted her to win. But in my opinion, JoJo won. And then she was actually scheduled, JoJo was, to fight Valentina Shevchenko for the belt. Well, the belt got cancelled, which is a pity. Uh, but I think for her, it's much better to have one more fight, at least one more, maybe even two, before finding Valentina. I don't think she's still ready to find a champion, so I'm happy to see that she's going to square up against Jennifer Maia here. So Jojo very well rounded. One thing he struggled with in the past was her were the takedowns. She didn't have the best takedown defense. She was quite easy to be taken down. However, she also had and still has a very nice submission game. And also, something she improved a lot lately is her own uh, takedown takedowns. Uh, we saw in her most recent fights that she's really mixing it up well between kickboxing and taking people down. What is definitely uh, a very nice asset of her game is her clinch work. She's very strong in the clinch. She's looking for a clinch actively, and yeah, well, when she get those girls there, I believe she feels strong, and she's able to really put some nice work in the clinch with her knees, elbows, or even punches. So she's very good at mixing it up. Also, I feel like there is quite some momentum on her now, uh, despite having this loss again, Caitlin Chukagian. I've heard her saying that she really wants to fight with Chukagian again, and I think this fight should happen. It would be super cool if after fighting Maia, she gets to fight Chukagian again. So yeah, pretty decent, pretty well-rounded fighter, able to really mix it up. And also one thing which I like about her, she's currently training at TriStar Gym. Uh, does it say it here? Not really. Well, it does not say it here. However, she does train at TriStar, uh, and I think this would only help her to grow even more as a fighter. I'm sure that her as a hobby is helping her improve her game even more, and you could see that. I mean, she's making so many improvements from fight to fight. I feel like she's really riding this momentum wave right now. But let's go to Jennifer Maia and see what's up with her? So Jennifer Maia, uh, she's 31 years old. As I said, the slightly smaller fighter uh, to JoJo. So, well, what I would say about Maya is that she also has some nice attributes to her game. She's very good at distance. Like her, maybe the best aspect of her game is her kickboxing. She's good at kickboxing range, good at distance, relatively fast, and also carries some power. Um, well, she did got picked apart by Chukagan, which was yeah, it was sort of expected. However, in her previous fights, he did well. In fights, I didn't actually expect her to win against Roxanne Modafferi. I thought Modafferi would have been able to get her down and maybe even submit her. However, Maya proved me wrong. She, despite not being the tallest girl for the division, he is physically quite strong. So she was able to keep Roxanne Modafferi off of her, and actually she was able to yeah, win the fight. So Maya again, good at distance. I would say yeah, physically maybe a bit stronger than JoJo. Although it really depends. Maybe I'll have to wait for the weigh-ins and see, because JoJo, yeah, JoJo would be the bigger fighter. However, Maya does seem like the more well built, with more muscle. Uh, yeah, I do think JoJo will be the bigger fighter, and she will be the more physically imposing. However, Maya, yeah, not that easy to take down and control on the ground. That's what I would like to say. Not that easy to be taken down. She also has some improved takedown defense. In the past, Maya was also struggling a lot with takedowns. She was getting takedown quite often, but you don't really see that now. What I would say about her though is she's not really mixing it up well, at least not as well as JoJo, because she doesn't go for takedowns. Also, she doesn't go a lot for elbows, knees. She's really relying on her power in the kickboxing range. And also, she didn't really fought, uh, yeah, as good as fighters as JoJo. And although I would say that's not always a good indicator of how good a fighter is, uh, sometimes it helps because it lets you know, okay, can this fighter really be locked in the cage with a top 5, top 10 fighter? And that's what I think about JoJo. I do believe he's a top 10 fighter now, and I do believe that she could get into the top 5 of that flyweight division. So yeah, that's it about Maya. In general, I would say JoJo is the better fighter, um, more well-rounded. I believe she's going to mix it up much better. Uh, I don't believe that Maya will go for takedowns, which is one of the weak sides of JoJo. So on the other hand, I do believe JoJo might go for a takedown here and there. Not sure if she's gonna take Maya down. Maybe once, but nah, I don't think she's gonna be able to keep her down though. However, just being able to mix it up more, I do believe she's going to outplay Maya and eventually win the fight. So my prediction is for Joanne Calderwood to win this fight, most likely by a decision. Let's have a look at the odds here. Um, we see, yeah, Jennifer Maya at +1, around +130, and Jojo at around -155. Yeah, the odds are pretty accurate in my opinion. I do think the odds are about accurate. Maybe there is a bit of value on Calderwood actually, I would say, because honestly, I don't see a path to victory for Jennifer Maya. I don't see her. out grappling Jojo. I don't see her outpacing Jojo. I really like. She does have maybe she's maybe a bit better at kickboxing range, but in boxing range and in the clinch, Jojo is so much better that I really don't see a way for Maia to be able to outstrike Jojo. Also, Jojo is riding this momentum wave. I do think that maybe a bet on Jojo is a good decision. So my pick is Jojo, and I would say that a small bet on Joanne Calderwood is also worth it. So let's go to the final fight of this card, which is the main event, and that's Derek Brunson against Edmon Shahbazyan. So a very, very, very nice fight here we have. We have pretty important fight for the middleweight division. I believe both of these guys are, especially Shahbazyan, fighter two away from getting a title shot, maybe two fights away. Um, and a lot can be said about this fight. But let's start with discussing Derek Brunson. So Derek Brunson, really, really prominent middleweight fighter, I would say. He has fought so many good fighters in the middleweight division. He's currently 36 years of age, so he's well, not that young anymore. But with age comes wisdom, people say, and I do believe that quite some wisdom has been portrayed by Derek Brunson recently. So in the past, he was a very, very reckless fighter, not able to pace himself quite well. He was always going for those wild exchanges, throwing wild punches, and trying to well, knock his opponent's head off. Really gassing himself out, honestly. This was sort of his way of yeah, approaching fights. He was pretty reckless, not the best technique, but carrying a lot of power. Um, and he was quite successful doing so. Like as you can see, uh, so for example here, after the Anderson Silva fight, he fought Daniel Kelly, Yoto Machida. Both of these fights he won in a similar fashion, just being reckless in round one, throwing wild punches, and yeah, just basically he clipped the guys and dropped them and finished them. Well, of course, he lost to Robert Whitaker before, what, no shame in that. But before that, again, his style sort of, because of his style, he got on a uh, five win, five winning streak against, well, not the best names you have here, Edmon Samavi, but Ron Hernero, but he won against Uriah. In general, he was a much different fighter than he is now. So, what I like about Brunson now is that he's really embracing one of his biggest strengths, which is his wrestling. He's, if I'm not mistaken, a D1 wrestler, really, really good wrestler. We saw him has had this fight with Yoel Romero. I do believe he actually out wrestled Yoel Romero in this fight. He lost the fight, of course. It was brutal. He lost it via punches. However, I think he took Yoel Romero down, and he got taken down maybe just once. He really displayed a beautiful takedown defense, and he actually managed to take down the beast Yoel Romero. Um, but yeah, besides that, in the past, he didn't really use his wrestling that much. He was just a wild striker. However, in his most recent fights after the Israel Adesanya loss, he really changed his game. Against Elias Teodoro, he fought really smart. He adjusted his game plan, so a really difficult fighter to win against is Elias Teodoro, and Brunson managed to do so by employing his wrestling and also by pacing himself much better. He still had those small bursts of punches. However, in this fight, he was able to, yeah, just he was pacing himself so much better. He was actually fighting like Yoel Romero in the sense that he was using a burst and then he was going into this defensive mode and then a small burst again and a defensive mode again instead of having a long burst and then being completely gassed out. So he won this fight by decision, something he hasn't done for quite a while because usually he's winning either by TKO or punches. So he won the fight, and then against Ian Heinisch, I believe he was the underdog there. Brunson was. He still managed to win, and again he used his wrestling. He was wrestling, and he really employed a great game plan. So yeah, they were good wrestling. Um, sort of reckless striking, but has improved lately. His chin is not that up in the air anymore, at least not as much as before. Um, I do believe he still doesn't have the best conditioning. Uh, he's still sort of, yeah, he's slightly gassed out in the third round or even late second. However, his pacing, he's able to pace himself so much better that he he is still capable of winning those decisions. But let's have a look at the opponent, which is Edmon the Golden Boy Shahbazyan. So he's 11 and 0, so no losses on his record. He's really riding this hype train now. At least the hardcore fans really like this guy because, well, allegedly, people say that he's killing guys in the gym. He's destroying people. He's well, when it comes to size, actually not that big of a difference between these two fighters. But yeah, Edmon Shahbazyan. What to say about him? Edmon Shahbazyan is really a phenomenal striker in a nutshell. Or at least that's what we have seen from him so far. He, of course, he doesn't have a loss, so he's on an 11 fight winning streak. But if we look at his performance in the UFC, so his first fight against Charles Bird, I mean, honestly, he did well. He won the fight in a very, yeah, uh, very quickly. He won the fight, but Charles Bird not the highest caliber of UFC fighter, decent fighter, but not the best. And then he fought Jack Marshman. Again, he completely well demolished him. He did well, but again, no one was really that high on Edmon Shahbazyan because Marshman, despite being well well-rounded fighter, not again the highest caliber of fighter. However, he was then matched up with Brad Tavares, and this was a really important fight for Edmon because Brad Tavares has been a staple for the middleweight division. Really well-rounded fighter, good at everything. Primarily a striker though, however, with good takedown defense. And this fight was crucial. To be honest, I thought it was going to be a very close fight. However, Edmon proved me wrong, and he completely destroyed Brad Tavares. The feints he was throwing, his striking ability in general was just spectacular. Like he did so well. I was really surprised. He has very crisp, accurate striking. He doesn't load on his punches. It's like not on his punches, not on his kicks. Just very accurate, very crisp. What I would say about him, though, he has never really been tested against a good wrestler. And of course, this does not mean that when he faces a good wrestler, he's going to be exposed. However, we've never really seen him go into deep waters. From what I've seen from him so far, I have no reason to believe he lacks takedown defense. Like so far, he's portrayed actually excellent takedown defense. However, it's just that the fighters he has faced so far really did not, yeah, they didn't really pursue the takedown that much. And I do believe that Derek Brunson has the ability to do so. Well, Derek Brunson is not a chain wrestler like a Khabib type or a Chimaev type. However, he does have very solid takedown game. And I do believe that in this fight, Edmon will face something different, something he has not faced before. So when it comes to grappling, of course, I give the edge to Brunson just because Edmon, well, he's primarily a striker. I mean, he passed every test so far with flying colors using his striking. So why would he bother using his wrestling? Maybe he's good at BJJ. I don't know. Maybe he is, but I really have no proof, no evidence to claim that. So I have to give the edge to Derek Brunson when it comes to grappling, takedown, and takedowns. Of course, the fight starts on the feet, and on the feet, Shahbazyan is the much crisper, more accurate, faster, I would say, striker. So I do believe on the feet he is the considerably better fighter. The question is, will Brunson be able to take Shahbazyan down? And if he is, will he be able to keep him down like for enough time to inflict a lot of damage or even submit Shahbazyan? I don't really see that happening because like Brunson tends to gas out. So I really find it hard to see him sort of being able to completely uh, dismantle Shahbazyan just by wrestling, solely by wrestling. I do believe he will have to use his striking. Um, Brunson, he has to use his striking quite a lot in order to set up his takedowns. And I do think that while using his striking, he might run into some trouble because Edmon Shahbazyan is so good at countering you, and Brunson is still quite reckless in some exchanges that I do believe Shahbazyan might be able to clip him in those exchanges. So in general, I would say Edmon should be the favorite, and Edmon Shahbazyan is my pick to win this fight. I don't really see Brunson being able to outstrike him, neither knocking him out, to be honest. Edmon's chin has held up pretty well so far. However, because Brunson presents a very unique and different challenge to Edmon, and because of the odds, which are, to be honest, quite wide here, we have plus 290 for Brunson on average, and minus 330, I would say, for Shahbazyan. I think that a small bet on Brunson might not be that bad of a decision, just because despite Shahbazyan having clearly the better striking game, Brunson still carries quite some power, or at least enough to threaten you, for you to feel threatened. But also, and primarily, Shahbazyan has never been tested against a good, solid wrestler. So, in my opinion, a small bet on Brunson is possible. I would bet a very small amount on Brunson, maybe 1 unit. But the fighter to win is Edmon Shahbazyan. So that's it. That's it for today. I hope you enjoyed the video. I have to know that I'm not a professional gambler. I just love watching UFC fights, and also, well, recently I have been on a very nice betting winning streak, so I just decided to share sort of my opinion on how these fights will play out. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you find something useful in this video, and peace. Bye bye.